Good evening and welcome to the January 4th, 2024 Northampton County Council meeting. We'll all rise for the pledge being led by John Gaffredo. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And could we just take a moment to silently reflect on the business that we're here to do? And
should we stand?
no, you could sit. You can pray any way you want. Thank you. Ms. Shafnisky, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Giovanni?
Here.
Mr. Gaffredo?
Here.
Mr. Heckman?
Here.
Ms. Keegan?
Here.
Mr. Kraft?
Here.
Ms. Vargo Hefner?
Here.
Mr. Warren?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of December 14th, 2023?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Is there any, we have no courtesy of the floor listed. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to courtesy of the floor this evening? Having none. This evening we have a proclamation, and Mr. Warren is going to present that
Yes,
to.
thank you. Yes, Keith from Miller Keystone Blood Center is here, and should I go down to the podium here?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
And he can join you.
This is my first rodeo, too. So, yeah, we have a proclamation here for Miller Keystone Blood Center commemorating National Blood Donor Month. As somebody who has been an avid volunteer at Miller Keystone Blood Center for approximately a decade, I wanted to make sure that we recognize the great work that Miller Keystone Blood Center has done in our community for so many years and the great work that you all continue to do. So I'll read this proclamation and begin by saying, whereas January was designated National Blood Donor Month in 1970 to pay tribute to voluntary blood donors and increase donations by others to help save lives in our local community. And whereas Miller Keystone Blood Center was founded in 1971 and serves as the sole blood provider for 29 hospitals in eastern Pennsylvania and western New Jersey. And whereas Miller Keystone Blood Center is a member of America's Blood Centers, a national network of independent nonprofit community blood centers that provides approximately 60% of the blood products transfused in the United States. And whereas 29,000 units of blood are used each day in the United States to help save lives for cancer patients, trauma victims, and other medical emergencies. And whereas approximately 350 donors are needed to meet the daily needs of transfusion patients in the 31 hospitals served by Miller Keystone Blood Center. And whereas the residents of Northampton County donate blood to Miller Keystone Blood Center, and when they do, they give the gift of life, provide someone hope for a second chance, and give back to the local community. Now, therefore, it is hereby proclaimed by Northampton County Council and the County of Northampton that January 2024 shall be declared as National Blood Donor Awareness Month within Northampton County, and that residents of the county shall be encouraged to donate blood and platelets at Miller Keystone Blood Center throughout the 2024 calendar year. Thanks so much for being here, Keith. We very much appreciate all the work that Miller Keystone Blood Center has done. Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks. Do you want to say
take a picture?
Yeah, should we take a picture here? Sure.
With our high-tech
Great.
phone?
Here, do you want to go in front of the?
Thank you. Thank you for good work.
Thank you. You're a supporter. The county is also a great supporter. Yes. The county also supports Miller Keystone every day. So.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Next, we have a presentation by Mr. Heckman to Ms. Zirinsky.
All right. But before I do that, I want to ask Mr. Warren.
Yes.
When I still had season tickets to the hockey, to the Phantoms.
Yeah.
I was there the night you were honored.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You got up, had the spotlight on you.
It's embarrassing.
And they talked about, how many gallons did you donate?
At that point, it was probably 8 to 10, I think.
Good for
at
you.
that point. So,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, they came after me with a needle, but I ran.
Yeah, every 8 weeks I donate blood because it's so important. And I go back to 2011 when my daughter had a disease, and I donated my blood to help save her life. So I even go back further than that. When I helped one of my old bosses, I helped work on her blood donor education legislation back in 2002, and I got to know a lot of folks at the Blood Center who do a lot of great things. So it's been a Blood Center journey for me. So thank you very much.
So, Ms. Zirinsky, if you could come up, I've been given the honor of presenting you with this this honor. And I just want to say, Tara and I ran in 17. It was the first time I met Tara, a group of us that ran, and it was pretty evident then that you were a ball of energy. And you haven't stopped. You know, you're energetic, you're passionate, and whether I've agreed or disagreed with you on issues, I certainly could never question your passion and your zeal for doing what you believe is in the best interest of everybody. And I was honored to have served with you on council, and I have all the confidence in the world that you will put that same zeal and diligence into your new office. And I got to wish you the best from me to you. I wish you the best over there. So in honor of and recognition of Tara M. Zirinsky on her commitment to public service as a member of Northampton County Council, congratulations and thank you for your deliberation and guidance, always with the best interest of the citizens of Northampton County in mind, 2018 to 2021. I shorted you. From 2018 through 2023. Tara, congratulations. Good luck. Here you go. Oh, you want to put it?
One more. For the wall.
The wall. Wall. Oh, Tara, you get the box.
Oh, I get the box too. Hey,
There you go.
thanks a million.
Hey, not cheap around here.
Okay. Next, we have County Executive Report. Mr. McClure, do you have a report this evening?
I do. Happy New Year, everybody. So wonderful to see all of your shining faces. We, in Northampton County, recently had an election, the fruits of which you see here tonight. And one of the things that was an issue was warehouse proliferation in Northampton County. And we've been talking a lot about warehouse proliferation these past several years and the things we're doing to fight it. And of course, some of the things we're doing to fight warehouse proliferation is preserve farmland, open space, and environmentally sensitive land. Another thing we did was work with the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. We funded a land-based freight study, which gave our municipalities the tools to control their own destiny with respect to the development of warehouses. And many of those municipalities are doing that work right now. Lower Nazareth, Moore Township are two of the ones I'm thinking about who are being very aggressive about pushing back against warehouse proliferation. And this is a bipartisan issue all across Northampton County, Republicans and Democrats coming together to push back against warehouse proliferation. We don't need any more warehouses. We are already a net importer of workers into the warehouses in Northampton County. We're happy for the jobs that we have here in the warehouses. The people who work in warehouses work there with dignity and have good jobs. But our folks are done. They don't want any more truck traffic. They don't want any more warehouses. And it is my opinion that it's obscene to incentivize the building of warehouses with tax rebates, tax incentives like LRTA, which is why tonight I'm calling on County Council to pass an ordinance rescinding Ordinance 744. And the title of it is an ordinance rescinding Ordinance 744, whereby Northampton County Council and providing for property tax exemption for certain deteriorated property as defined in Ordinance 2017-04 of the Upper Mount Bethel Township pursuant to Act 76 of 1977 of the General Assembly of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. This is, as you know, the RPL development in Upper Mount Bethel Township. And I want to have a concept of not just repealing this break for the sake of repealing. I actually want to achieve positive public policy goals that I think we all agree on. One of the things I think we all agree on with this particular site is that the power plant must be redeveloped and that it is appropriate to have a LRTA incentive on the power plant. Additionally, I've passed out to you tonight an analysis provided to me by the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission at my request. You'll recall toward the end of, those of you who are here and those of you who are watching on YouTube, you'll recall that the Planning Commission came to tell us at the end of last year that the RPL development brought, or in their words, dumped 9 new plans on them right at the close of their year. And what our fear was many of these would be warehouses. And as you can see, many of the proposed plans in RPL are warehouses. And some of them are massive. Some of them are in the over 1 million square feet and have been designated as warehouses. You should understand that anything over 250,000 square feet in the comprehensive plan as promulgated by the Planning Commission is considered a warehouse. So anything above 250,000 feet in this analysis, you can be fairly well certain is going to be a warehouse, and a tax incentive shouldn't be applied to it. However, there are some proposals in these plans that may be suitable for manufacturing. And I think we've all said, and I believe Mr. Pector has said, he wants manufacturing at this site as well. And there are some properties here that are suitable for manufacturers because the square footage is in line with the type of building that a manufacturer would seek. 210,000 square feet, 60,000 square feet, 43,000 square feet. Those are potentially manufacturing sites. And in my view, and in the view of our Department of Community and Economic Development, would be appropriate for LRTA. However, the 1,124,400 square foot warehouse is just absolutely not appropriate because, as we know, our folks have told us they don't want any more warehouses. So you have the ordinance before you tonight to repeal the LRTA that you have granted. But that's not the end of the story. This story should end with a replacement of this ordinance that gives Northampton County the ability to grant LRTA status to the power plant, which we all agree needs to be redeveloped and is appropriate for LRTA tax incentive. And as the developer demonstrates to us that manufacturers are coming to some of these other sites that we know by the square footage would be appropriate for manufacturing, we could also give those sites LRTA status. So it's not a complete abandonment of the site, ladies and gentlemen. What it is an abandonment of is a tax break for gigantic warehouses, which nobody wants, coming here, which are already coming. They don't need to be incentivized with the taxpayers' money of Northampton County. But we want to be reasonable, and we want positive economic development and job growth, and we want to give ourselves the ability to incentivize these other parcels that could be manufacturing parcels if so demonstrated by the developer. So we'll have, if you do repeal this ordinance, which takes away at least the county tax incentive for massive warehousing. We will then have another ordinance to bring forward to you to replace this one that will give us the flexibility that we do not now have to essentially, meeting certain legal thresholds, pick and choose which parcels we want to incentivize. So this is not a complete abandonment of the site. But what it is being smart about incentivizing manufacturing over warehousing. What it is being smart about incentivizing the redevelopment of a brownfield that's very difficult to redevelop over warehousing, which nobody wants. That concludes my report, Madam.
Are there any questions for Mr. McClure? I have one.
Sure, go.
Let me find. The ordinance 760 that was passed on is enacted on October 5th. It was effective November 4th regarding the tax credit for volunteer firefighters and EMS. My question is, how were these companies and when were these companies notified that they needed to provide certification?
I can answer that by referring to Mr. Barron. Mr. Barron? Do you understand the question?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
They were made aware of it by county council's ordinance as well as the forms being placed on the county website with the directives on how to apply and to get the tax credits.
So your office didn't make any effort to inform or send out any information directly to people?
The timing of the ordinance when it became active and the deadlines we need for closing out the tax year with regard to closing our books, making sure we have the revenue on the books that we're going to be reporting to the external auditors, didn't really allow for a mailing. We published it where we publish all county public information, which is on our website. Anybody who called the office, and the volunteer firefighters did call the office, they were given all the paperwork. It was laid out to them. We have the rules as to how you apply. It's different from Lehigh County. We took a different approach in implementing our tax break. We make sure that people, and the chief has to certify for each individual person as opposed to just providing us a list. This will allow us to be able to give the tax credit throughout the year as opposed to just doing it in one foul swoop at the end of the year.
So how many people have sent in their forms?
I'm not sure of what the final number is, and I don't know how many credits will be given because we have to do research. The person needs to be current on their taxes. Some people who applied were not and will not be receiving the credit. Some questions came up with regard to how the certification forms were filled out, and we let people correct any errors they had. The deadline was the 15th to apply, and then we allowed people to correct to the 30th, so I haven't gotten those updated numbers. I'll have those by the next meeting if you'd like.
Does anyone else? Mr. Craig?
Is that for the year 2023 or for 2024?
2023. So we gave people the opportunity to do 2023. For 2024, the reason we implemented the law differently from Northampton County is because Northampton or Lehigh County has a certification list one time a year, which would mean we're sending out a whole group of checks. Northampton County, my staff pointed out, and I think this was really brilliant on their part, that once you meet the requirement for being a volunteer for the whole year, if you've paid in the discount period, why should you have to wait for your whole department to turn in the paperwork? So what the department can do is the chief can certify, have the notary public sign it, the person can put in their application at any time after they've met the 3 month requirement or the 3-run requirement and paid their taxes. So I think that was a better way to do it. It also relieves the pressure at the end of the year on the staff here in the courthouse, and it gets people their money a little bit sooner. We wanted to implement the rule evenly, though, and some people are going to get for 2023. We tried to notify people as best as we could.
I think that it's, a lot of thought went into this on your part, and I appreciate that. My only concern is that I don't know that everybody was duly informed and aware. So I'm just wondering how much leniency you're willing to give. Because my
can't-
understanding is that when people called, they were told it's drop dead December 15th.
That is correct.
But given that this is the first time we're doing it,
For 2024, they're more than welcome. They have plenty of time and plenty of notice. Council passed their laws. We had to wait 30 days for it to actually be enacted before we could get the information. So December 4th was when it was out there.
it was enacted on the 5th and effective November 4th.
Okay.
So you had a month and a
Okay,
half.
I'm sorry, I have that's fine. We did get it out there. We tried our best. Those forms were ready to go before, probably about 2 or 3 weeks before the law actually went into effect. We were thinking about it. We tried to inform people the best we could, and our accounting deadlines are pretty steadfast, and we do not want to risk the integrity of our external audit that county council has to provide. That's the best deadlines we could based on the law that was passed.
So maybe at the finance committee, would you get us more information?
Sure, I'll give you
How many people are actually, because my concern is the people who were excluded and weren't informed. It sounds like you did try, but that doesn't mean everybody was looking. And so
I
I'm
can't-
just wanting to be fair to everyone.
And I have to be fair to the people from other departments that were denied, that didn't get their applications in on time. County council passes the laws, we do promulgate the rules. I do understand that Lower Saucon called and claimed they did not know about it, which I believe is the genesis of these questions.
No, there was
And
actually several.
okay, that's fine. There may have been several. We have been fielding calls constantly from several departments. We do the best we can. We can't chase people.
Good question.
Yes, sir.
So I'm on record, I oppose this. I didn't want to give a tax break to anybody, not because I don't think they do a good job, but I just didn't want to go down that road. Are these people, regardless of whether they happen to see your website or not, are they all, if it applies to them, will they get a rebate for 2023?
Yes.
Oh, so anybody who's qualified, forgetting the December deadline?
Oh, no. If they haven't applied for it, they have to apply for it.
Right.
If they
You're
haven't
saying
applied
it's too
for it,
late
it's
now.
too late now, but they'll be able to get it in 2024.
We've given
with the
rebates
requirements.
on taxes to people over the years for different things.
No.
You're going to say we never gave a
Well-
rebate on a real estate tax to somebody over the years?
Well, there are
Over the
rebates from the
years.
state. There are rebates from the state. We do refund people taxes who don't pay the correct amount or overpay. Taxes are assessed uniformly, so we don't randomly give
Well, not
rebates to
this,
people.
because this went away from it. That's why I didn't want
I
to vote it.
Understand.
And I understand, Steve, what you're saying to a degree, but there's nothing that prevents us from giving them a rebate for 2023 if we so
yes, there
desire.
is. Yeah,
What-
so
what
there-
is- What is the law that prevents us?
So the rules for accounting,
Is this a law?
it is, it's our accounting, it's the way we have to file our single audit report
right.
and account for our taxes. So
okay.
the laws governing taxes, and this is unprecedented, this type of a law. It doesn't really happen. And I've actually been called by other municipalities to say, what rules did you put in place? Because we have no idea how to do this because it's so foreign to what state law says about assessing taxes. So basically, we have collected our taxes for the year. When the books close, that's it. We can't give any more refunds. Everything goes from year to year to year. So the 15th was the best deadline I could get to make sure everybody was in. I gave them till the end of the year. We issue checks throughout January, and then the books close in early February, and we're done for that tax year, and we move on to 2024. So I don't give rebates back from the 2023 taxes at that point. And that's just the way all taxing bodies work, and it's for uniformity within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It's in the state constitution, and it is promulgated by the statutes, which is why this was so
Bring that information
difficult.
with you to the Finance Committee meeting?
I'll have the solicitor's office pull it for you.
Good. The other thing is then, yeah, and I understand. I mean, that was part of the problem I thought we'd have, and that's one of the reasons I didn't vote for it. But I know, for example, if a new program's thrown out there to give money to people in the community or to groups, letters go out saying, hey, we're great, we're giving you money, you can, if you apply. Why didn't we send a letter to each chief of a fire department and say, hey, this program's available?
The fiscal department, when the law was passed, literally the ordinance was on the books. Nobody from my department was consulted. I really wanted to make sure council's intent of their law was put forward. So I wanted to make sure I had rules in place, because there were people who were Johnny on the spot that basically said, I want this in 2023. Sure. The law was effected in November 2023. I want my refund. So I had to look at what the state law said. I had to look at how our external audit works. I had to look at when our books closed. I had to look at an unprecedented program and figure it all out with my team the best I could. So I was not consulted at the infancy of this. I knew Lehigh County had something like it on the books, but honestly, I never looked at it. And it's novel, it's new, and I tend to agree with you, Mr. Heckman, but I have to follow the laws.
No, we all do, so I appreciate it. Thank you,
Yes.
Steve.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
You good?
Okay, let's see. Next, we have old business. Is there anybody that needs to bring up anything under old business?
There's discussion about me reading the ordinance, part of the ordinance we passed, and I will do that. I won't read the entire thing. This was our rules for civility and order. I'm not going to read the order. I'll just read the civility. And frankly, many of these rules were put into place on this ordinance by the county executive and Mr. Bronco when they were on county council. So under the civility, Northampton County Council Code of Civility. Collectively and individually, the members of the Northampton County Council agreed to abide by this code of civility to ensure that Northampton County Council's business is conducted in a respectful and courteous manner, and in a way that will generate respect and credibility for the Northampton County Council. The freedom to express one's views about public matters is a cornerstone of the democratic process. The Northampton County Council welcomes the diverse views and opinions of other council members as they relate to the issues before us. In order for these discussions to be meaningful and effective, we must treat others with respect and dignity. By adoption of this code, the Northampton County Council collectively and individually agrees to abide by the following code of civility to the best of our abilities. A, members of Northampton County Council will conduct themselves in a professional and civil manner at all times as a representative of the council, including treating each member of the council and members of the public with respect at all times. B, even in the face of disagreement or differences of opinion, we will demonstrate esteem and deference for our colleagues and the public. During Northampton County Council meetings, functions, or events, we will not engage in or threaten to engage in any verbal or physical attack on any other individual. We will not use language that is abusive, threatening, obscene, or slanderous, including using profanities, insults, or other disparaging remarks or gestures. C, we believe that derogatory language about an individual's ethnicity, race, sexuality, age, disability, or religion is not acceptable. D, we will promote and enforce a safe meeting environment at all times. At moments when members of the public become disruptive and violate the rules of civility that we have pledged to follow, we will demand that the persons conduct themselves in a respectful and orderly manner, even if we agree with the point of view that is being expressed. E, we will commit to communicate our ideas and points of view clearly and allow others to do the same without interruption. We pledge to truly listen to and hear other points of view. We will practice the art of being able to disagree without being disagreeable. F, we will take responsibility for our own actions and will work to fulfill our roles and responsibilities as specified in the Home Rule Charter, County Code, and our own rules and regulations. G, we will commit to learn the applicable laws that govern Northampton County Council, including the Home Rule Charter, Northampton County Code, Northampton County Council Rules and Regulations, and the Sunshine Act. And we will not knowingly violate any of them so that we can maintain a safe and effective environment for conducting business. H, we will seek to present information truthfully and will not knowingly misrepresent, mischaracterize, or misquote information received from others. I, if we find ourselves representing our personal interests before the county's interests, we will publicly disclose the differences and recuse ourselves from voting on such matters, and we will ask for advice from the Solicitor of County Council whenever we have doubts. J, we will commit to good faith efforts to resolve grievances that come before the County Council as specified in our Home Rule Charter and County Council's rules and regulations. K, excuse me. K, out of respect to our fellow county council members, the public, and the decision makers who are trying to influence us, we will make the best possible effort to understand the issues before us. And where we sort of changed things up was L, the president or presiding officer shall serve as the chief parliamentary officer of the county council. All questions of procedure will be directed to the president. M, any questions or communication from council members to the council solicitor and/or council clerk shall be directed to and recognized by the president or presiding officer. N, any personal, electronic, written, or spoken communication between members of county council and any member of the public are prohibited during all public meetings. And O, any member of council can move to suspend the rules of order for a specific topic being discussed. If such a motion is made, seconded, and passed by a majority vote, the president can limit debate on the issue once all members of council have had at least one opportunity to comment prior to the debate being ended. So the rest is then order of business, which is pretty much Robert's rules to a degree, the ones that are pertinent. But there you go. It's changed, so I wanted to read it. So everybody, I don't know if the new papers have it in. I guess you gave everybody new. Okay, good. So there you go. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion on the matter?
Yeah, I have a question. Why don't you just implement Robert's Rules of Order?
Because we had a code of civility and it was passed by the majority of
Yeah,
council.
I understand. Why don't we just implement Robert's Rules of Orders? Because that's what you're trying to get to. You're
No,
trying to
this
get a
is-
meeting in an orderly manner.
Mr. Heckman, you could speak to it because it was your original.
Well, I could have brought Robert's rules. I have the book. It's this thick. My concern is, and I've seen this at meetings, Robert's Rules of Order cover many, many areas. And frankly, it can be used as much as a weapon as it can to keep order. There are many ways that votes can be delayed. There are many ways people can get involved. And frankly, it's been a problem sometimes for folks to understand the administrative code and the Home Rule Charter. This is a scaled-down version of it. If you go over them, you'll see that almost anything we do is touched upon. And as I said, this was agreed to by a past council. Mr. McClure was the author, was co-author of this. So it seems like a streamlined version of Robert's Rules, where somebody isn't going to pluck something out of Appendix D and say, wait a minute, I'm going to interrupt because of this or that or this. This keeps us civil, it keeps order, but at the same time, it doesn't require you to do a lot of research, because people that get elected to part-time boards like this, they're not going to come in with necessarily a lot of knowledge about Robert's Rules of Order. So I just put the pertinent parts. I mean, I reviewed it, and as I said at the meeting when we put a few things in, I just saw the civility as far as the rules of order. I thought that Mr. McClure and Mr. Bronco covered it very well. That's all.
Question?
That's all. That's the only reason.
Any other old business? Moving on to new business. First, we have the consideration of the Pennsylvania Act 106 compliance resolutions. A, appointment of risk manager, and B, form and content. Mr. Giovanni, will you present the ordinance or the resolution? Thank you.
Whereas on November 23rd, 2011, Act 106 became immediately effective, authorizing counties to obtain individual bonds, blanket bonds, or crime insurance covering county officers and employees, replacing the prior requirements that certain individuals, officers of the county have separate bonds. And whereas pursuant of subsection 1130A of the Act, which requires county council as the governing body of the county of Northampton to establish a procedure by which it shall annually determine the form and required amount of required security that will be reasonably sufficient to protect against the risk of all loss in compliance with that subchapter. And whereas subsection 1130B of the Act permits the county council to appoint a risk manager to compile and submit information relevant to the determination of an amount of required security under subsection A, and whereas section 1129 of the Act requires that the form and the contents of the bond and insurance obtained in compliance with this subchapter shall be approved by the governing body of the county after review by the county solicitor and consultation with the county risk manager. Now therefore it be hereby resolved that the county shall hereby adopt the following procedure for the compliance with the provision of the Act. 1. County council is designated the director of the Department of Administration or his or her designee to serve as risk manager for purpose of this Act. 2. The director of administration or his or her designee is hereby designated to compile and submit information to the county council prior to the close of every calendar year as to the amount of security that the risk manager recommends that the county maintains during the succeeding year and otherwise to provide the information as set forth below to enable county council to plan and to force the bond and insurance required by the Act for the succeeding year. Number 3, in the course of the performing the duties assigned under above, the Department of Administration and the solicitor shall confer to determine the form and content of the bond and insurance would comply with the provision of the Act. Number 4, at the least 2 weeks prior to the close of every calendar year, the Department of Administration shall present to the county council for its consideration and approval the form and amount of the required security together with a recommendation as to the bond or policy satisfying the criteria set forth in this Act. And yes.
Thank you. Is there any discussion regarding that? Call for the vote. Call for the vote. Sorry about that.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Ms. Vargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you. Mr. Giovanni, will you do the form and content? And you can start on the second page since
The second
the
page?
beginning is the same. Save your voice.
He likes me to read. Whereas prior to the close of every calendar year, the amount of security that risk management recommends that the county maintains during the succeeding year and otherwise to provide information as set forth below to enable the county council to place in force the bond and insurance required by the Act for the succeeding year. And whereas following a review by the county solicitor, the director of administration is recommending that county council approve the following levels of security as provided under the county's insurance policy through the County Commissioner Association of Pennsylvania, known as CCAP, and its Pennsylvania County's Risk Pool P-Corps program and additional security through bonds that are required by the law. Therefore, it hereby resolved that the county shall hereby accept the following levels of security to cover public officials, including members of county council and the county executive. 1, crime coverage through the county's insurance policy with P-Corps, which covers all county officials and employees for fraud, embezzlement, theft, forgery, and other criminal acts up to $1 million per occurrence. Number 2, wire transfer bond in the amount of $4 million, which provides additional security above the maximum of $1 million crime coverage under P-Corps for certain county employees authorized to initiate wire transfers. 3, a treasurer's bond in the amount of $72,000, which is coverage required by the state based on revenue collection levels and is still required since Act 106 does not apply to county treasurers acting as tax collectors, as provided in Section 4 of the local tax collection law. 4, a magistratal district justice bond with the amount of $55,000 per magistratal district justice since Act 106 does not apply to those officials.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the matter? Call for the vote.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan? Yes. Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 8-0.
Next, we have consideration of a resolution accepting donations to Graysdale from the Military Order of the Purple Heart, Lehigh Valley Chapter 190. Mr. Heckman, will you introduce this?
I would, but I want to ask if Mr. Kraft would like to do it. He's our veteran up here, and
Oh, there you go.
maybe he'd like to read this.
I'll do it for you. Whereas Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Section 20210, provides that the county council shall have, among others, the following powers: to accept on behalf of the county any gifts of real property and to provide for the acceptance by any agency on behalf of the county of other gifts. And whereas the Military Order of the Purple Heart, Lehigh Valley Chapter 190, has donated $1,080 to be divided and split equally among all veteran personnel fund accounts. And now therefore, be it resolved by the Northampton County Council that it does hereby authorize the county executive to accept on behalf of Graysdale the above-mentioned donation.
Thank you. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan? Yes. Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you. Is there any other new business to discuss?
Mr. President, I wanted to know why the vacancy on county council wasn't on this agenda to discuss
I
and how
have
it's
it
done.
next.
Where?
It's on my notes. I'll be bringing it up next.
You'll be bringing, okay. I'd like to speak to it when you do bring it up.
Okay.
All right.
County Council vacancy. County Council is looking to fill the vacancy left by Ms. Zirinsky, indicating that an ad was placed in the Express Times and was posted on the County Council website. Applications will be accepted until 4:30 p.m. Friday, January 12th, 2024, with interviews being held at the Personnel Committee meeting on Wednesday, January 17th, 2024, at 4 p.m., and the County Council meeting on Thursday, January 18th, 2024, at 6:30 p.m. So we'll have 2 nights to interview and vet candidates, and if we need extra time, we'll determine that next Friday and get that information out to you as soon as possible, because we have no idea how many people we'll get. Would you like to speak to it now?
Yes, I would. I believe that this vacancy should be filled by a Democrat, and I believe the only applications we should take are Democrats, because Tara Zirinsky was the highest vote getter in every election. And the people spoke. We're here to represent the people. Now, for instance, if John, you have 2 years left in your term, if something happened to you, you couldn't come, I would advocate that he be replaced by a Republican, because that's who they spoke for you, for your position. And I think we should do the same thing. I think we owe the deference to the people. I mean, there was like 34,000 votes that Tara got. Like I said, she was the highest vote getter. In the election for controller, she beat Kuzik by over 6,000 votes. The people spoke. you know, and I believe the only people we should get for this spot, I know it's not codified in our ordinance, it doesn't say. Our thing says, the vacancy of the office of an elected official occurs during the last 2 years of the term. County council within 30 days after the occurrence shall appoint an individual. Doesn't say we put it in the paper, doesn't say we put out for applications. It says we got a resolution, we appoint somebody. What are the qualifications? They have to be here for 1 year in the county, and they have to have a heartbeat. Okay, that's all our people who wrote our rules put in there. There's nothing else. I think they implied in this rule that they would have somebody replaced at the party that they represented when they left, especially if they're the number one vote getter. I mean, beat everybody in this room with votes. So there was a statement by the public who they want. And, you know, like I said, if a Republican, if one of you guys fell out, you two, because you're the only ones that have 2 years left, I would be the one here advocating that you were replaced by a Republican, because that's what the voters voted in. And I believe that's what everybody should. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to take my word what I think. But I hope that Wednesday and Thursday of 2 weeks, 34,000 Democrats show up here and tell you what they want. I'm asking for them to come here and tell you what they want to replace the position that they voted in. Okay? So I hope we do the right thing. I hope we only consider a Democrat. I would like to, in the future, codify our rules and add, the only thing we have to add is the county shall pick a person to fulfill the vacancy in the party that was vacated. And I think that's only fair. I mean, we're going to have possibly 6 Democrats here. If one of you two fall out, we could have 7 Democrats. That's not fair. Every Republican in the county would come through that door screaming and hollering that we're not being fair. We're being whatever. And I would agree with them. I really would. So just want you to take that into consideration. And I would encourage anybody that's a Republican not to put an application in, because I won't be voting for them. And I'll be advocating against them very strongly. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I would like to just say that I don't think it really matters if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I think the most qualified person should be the one that takes a seat. And I think there's a reason why it doesn't have party affiliation in those rules, because I don't think it matters. So yeah, I will be voting for the person I think best does the job.
Any other comments? As of now, everyone of every party, independent, Democrat, Republican, any person is allowed to apply, and all applications will be accepted, and everyone will get an interview, unless they're not of age. Thank you for your opinion. Are there any county committee reports? Any council liaison reports? Council clerk report?
We have sent out the reminder request about committee and liaison appointments. If you could, as quickly as possible, respond either to our office or directly to President Vargo Hefner with your preferred selections. And we have handed out the new packets for each of you that include the Home Rule Charter, the Administrative Code, and also the new council member packet, which includes the updates. We've had updates this year to the ordinances on gift bans and defining de minimis gifts. We've also had changes, slight changes to the Sunshine Act, and then, of course, the changes to the Code of Civility that Mr. Heckman has already read.
Thank you. Mr. Solicitor?
Nothing.
That being said, motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposition?